Hello and welcome to another episode of Visceral Musings. My name is Cody Reed, and it is Wednesday. That means it is time for Season 1, Episode 6. We are in the second half of the first season of this show, folks. My guest today was the vocalist of Vacant Skies. He is an artist, and he's an all-around sweetheart. You know him, you love him, and if you don't, you will. His name is Larry Reynolds. We talked about the worst place to get food in Flagstaff. We talked about the worst show that Vacant Skies has never played. We talked about touring, and most of all, we talked about the album Burials by the band AFI, which is a collective favorite between the two of us, and also the very first time that we get to focus on an album for an entire episode. So I am very stoked that you get to hear my takes on it, because I think I have a theory about this album that I've never heard anybody else touch on, which is that this is AFI's version of a bad bitch anthem. So stick around, folks. There's plenty to unpack here. Impeccable stroke game and a very nice singing voice.
You know what? We're not playing your fucking stupid venue, you stupid sunburnt leather piece of shit motherfucker. I call him the Growler.
I am getting butt fucked by allergies. These are Davey Havok's bad bitch anthems. Hello and welcome to another episode of Visceral Musings. My name is Cody Reed, and today my guest is the beautiful and the radiant frontman of the band Vacant Skies and one of the realest dudes in the entire Arizona scene, a guy who I've given very many nicknames to. His name is Larry Reynolds. How are you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I live in a fucking furnace, so I am sweating my balls off. It is 93 degrees right now. It's April, and it is 6 o'clock. Why the fuck is it 93 degrees?
Dude, you guys haven't hit the summer yet.
No, and it's already hot. I don't know if that's why people write senators, but I'm fucking dying. I'm so glad that you can't, only you can see me right now, but, as it goes along, I'm going to start looking so much more like just a sweaty fucking meatball, so.
I've lived there too, man. I know how it goes.
Yeah, it sucks.
It does.
My favorite nickname I think I gave you on the tour was Pillow Princess.
Is that one of the many ones? Were you doing the stories while we were out there?
That was me, yeah.
With me and Eric have new names every day?
That's right. And you are you're a big AFI fan.
Giant fan, yes.
Okay. Well, I liked that one of the things I noticed is that you got your own Jade.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I do want to give a massive shout out to Jade, though. Jade's the drummer of Vacant Skies. He was the very first person to subscribe to Visceral Musings. He nice. Subscribed after I fucked up my upload. He was on Podbean, which is my host server, and he created an account and logged into it, and he was literally the very first person to do it. So yeah, big ups to him. But I want to get started on something. We are done shower pissing, thank God. With the last episode, we are done with shower pissing. And so my first question for you is, when you pee, do you go through the piss window like the fold in the underwear, or do you flop over the waistband?
You go up and over the fold of the underwear.
All right. Okay,
make it interesting.
That would make you flop gang.
Yep. You got it.
Flop gang, not window squad. My first real question for every single guest is, who are you and what do you do?
Who am I and what do I do? In which way? I don't know.
It's kind of an existential question, or it's a very straightforward. It's up to interpretation on that one.
I am, oh my God, I'm an artist. I'm a creator. I am a singer. I would like to call myself a musician, but I'm not good enough. My fingers don't work to play instruments very well. I get drum beats in my head and stuff that I get out there, but I have a passion to learn how to play piano. That's something I want to do. I'm a father. A lot of people don't understand or know that about me. You being one of them until recently.
Yeah.
Biggest part of my life right there, always. I'm a little brother to a sister who fed me my musical taste growing up, and she's the biggest influence of the reason why I got into what I got into. Speaking of AFI, she got me into them. She was the biggest, influence into their music, which then led to so many other different opportunities and windows of music. So I don't know if that's the right way to answer the question, but
no, that's perfect.
What I got.
That's funny that you said that first part about not knowing whether or not you should call yourself a musician. I also went through the same thing, like almost like imposter syndrome, where I was in a studio recording bass for Phil the band. Actually, it wasn't for Negative 32, but Corey Spots was the guy who recorded us at the time, and I was doing it. I remember I went in and I was singing backup vocals for one of these songs that we were doing, and he was like, "Just go here and do this and push it or whatever." So I went in there, sang as hard as I could or whatever, and he kept saying like, "That was beautiful, that was good." And then I sat down and I was like, "Yeah, it felt really good." And he's like, "No, it's perfect to have like a stunt musician to go in there and do things when you need them." And I got so bricked up when he said that. I was like, dude, I've never called myself a musician. So yeah, no, I understand what you're coming from, but I would 100%, I would call you a musician.
It's definitely something I have to warm up to, and more recently I've been able to, as well as the term artist, because I mean that's what we do. You know, not
you are an artist, yes.
So I have to accept it.
I will call you that. Yeah, I'll call you that.
Try to.
Yeah. Where are you? Where are you from? That was another question I wanted to ask, because I honestly don't know.
Flagstaff's my hometown. Born and raised here. Yeah, I left here when I was 20, maybe. I lived in Phoenix for about 2 years, and I hated it for the reason that we're talking about, the sweat and the heat.
Dude.
And in the time being down there, though, I was grateful because I got to be with my grandfather before he passed. Since I was a kid, not only me, but my younger cousins and my older cousins too, he's the one who got us into music from a very, very early age. So I got to spend, his last days with him. And after he was gone, I was just heartbroken, homesick. I was ready to come back home, so I did everything I could to get back here.
I understand that. I had a lot of family that lived in Holbrook, Arizona.
Yeah.
So you know where Holbrook is.
Yep.
But when a lot of them have passed away. So like when I drive through it, I get this like weird empty feeling. Yeah. And like my grandmother used to live up in, she used to live like Northern Valley. So like it was like Peoria right outside of Sun City. And like I kind of felt like I used to go visit her and stuff. And I actually lived there with her for a little bit too. But like it was so weird when they were gone. It's like there was no reason that I would want to stay there anymore.
Yeah, it's strange. My parents stayed behind for a little while. They eventually came back up, but really I had no other reason to be there. If I can miss anything from the Valley, Zia Records. I love
Zia. I just went there today.
Record store day, right?
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say at the time of recording this, it's 420. It's Record Store Day. I just went there today.
Nice.
I actually got a copy of Kenny Beats and Denzel Curry's Unlocked album. I fucking love it so much.
Nice.
I got the Zia exclusive for it. But yeah, do you guys have a record store in Flagstaff that you go to?
We did. It closed down. All we got now is Bookman's.
Was it Hastings?
So Hastings was one, but we did have an independent record shop. It was called Rocket Man Records. It was downtown, just right down the street from Heritage Square, or right down the alleyway. But I loved Rocket Man. We would ditch in high school and then go Rocket Man because he would get the newest stuff like 2 weeks early, and then he also had all the promo like posters and stuff that he would give to you if you bought the album early. So I would go down there and pick up AFI stuff and Cradle of Filth and just whatever I wanted. It was great.
That's rad. So my first interview question for you is actually kind of a cool segue off of what you were talking about. Is I know that you're an artsy guy. I know that you do most of your bands. Well, you do the screen printing for the T-shirts, you do the flyers, the artwork. But you said you also do tattoos. So can you tell us a little bit about your tattooing?
Yeah. So I haven't done it in any manner professionally at all. I got a lot to learn still. It's something that I've wanted to do since I was a kid, and it's something that I just said screw it one day, and I ordered, just a little crappy kit on Amazon. I practiced on myself, so my legs are covered with not the best tattoos. I do say, though, I do have a Blink-182 bunny that I'm proud of because he looks pretty good. But aside from that, I'm not pretty happy with what I've done, but at least I got to practice on me. I got to do some tattoos on my sister, several actually, one on her neck, which was very intimidating. But she trusted me, and that was really cool with the original piece of art that I did. I did Eric's first tattoo. So it's a mixture of the Vacant Skies Eclipse, but with Coheed and Cambria's logo, and that's on his arm.
I've seen it.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I thought it was just a Coheed tattoo for the longest time. Okay.
Yeah, it's in there. I have to do some color and stuff. He's bugging me. He wants to do a skeleton koi fish like on his arm and stuff, and I need to do it. I have it designed for him, but I want to get a wireless kit because the rotary is not the best. It overheats.
Yeah. That's so fun. That the skeleton koi fish seems so Eric too.
Yep.
It sounds like an Eric idea.
Anything left side, dude, it's all Eric.
Have you tattooed a lot of other people?
I've tattooed, my girlfriend has a lot by me. I've tattooed my mom. She has this rose filigree design on her leg that I've done for her. I have friends that want to. I've had family that want to. It's just finding the time to do so, just because I've been busy with everything else. Definitely something I want to pursue more. It's just I haven't been able to put the time into it just because I'm dedicated in so many different other places.
That kind of nulls out my next question, but I did want to just point it out. My I have a moon tattoo on my arm.
Yep.
It was fresh when we were on tour, but my artist that did it, her name is Allison Tippett. She's phenomenal, but her brother was one of my closest friends a long time ago, and he told her to hide a dick in it. And I've heard a lot of artists say that they hide like penises and other genitalia in people's tattoos. I like the thing that's fucked up is I can't tell if they're joking. So she's like, Ethan told me to hide a dick in your tattoo, and I was like, oh, and I don't know if she was joking or not, and I've studied it, and I can't tell if she did, then bravo, because I cannot fucking find it, but I've thought about that ever since then.
It's stuff I joked about doing, especially with my sister, because I can actually joke with her about that. Some people get serious, but with her, she wouldn't care. I think I did put fuck in a few of her tattoos, just underneath. No body parts. Next time, though.
Yes. Sometimes look at it and I'm like, I don't know if she was joking or not, but yeah, if she is, I haven't found it. Or if she wasn't joking, I haven't found it yet. A massive reason why I wanted to talk to you is because you're very motivated, and most of what Vacant Skies is so DIY and so punk rock, and so I wanted to know from the horse's mouth, like, what is the story of Vacant Skies? Like, how did you guys come to be?
So prior to Vacant Skies, Jade and I, we were part of another band. It was more of like a horror punk band. It was called Grim, and it was, of course, here in Flag. Grim ended right before the pandemic. A lot of personal stuff that was going on between me and the other bandmates, and eventually Jade and the other bandmates too. But we postponed, went through the pandemic, and then Jade and I finally reconnected, worked through all that mess, and we decided we want to play music again. You know, once you're a musician, I don't think, and again, I guess I can call myself a musician, but once you're a musician and you actually get to play music and play shows and know what that's like, it's hard to not do that. It's hard to not, especially for me, it's hard to not perform because I love performing. And not only do I love writing the music, but my favorite thing is to go out there and perform it. So if I'm not doing that, I kind of get stir crazy. And kind of during the pandemic, I was losing my mind a little bit, like we all were. I wanted to make music, but my connections were broken at that time, so I just had to deal with it. And at that time, I just had my second kid, so I just laid low. Was a dad, trying to be a dad to 2 kids, which is an adventure in and of itself. But once we reconnected, we decided we want to play music again. We didn't have any connections to anybody. So I put out hits on Craigslist. I put out hits on Facebook. I put out hits everywhere I pretty much could. I was about ready just to draw flyers, copy them, go post them downtown. I wanted to play music again, so we'll see what bait we get. So Mark... Again,
very, very punk rock.
Mark, our original guitarist, he emailed me back. He saw the ad on Craigslist, and he was part of a band called Nothing at All, which Jade's first band, The Blurs, used to play with Nothing at All at the Hive way back in 2011, 2010, 2012. And so I knew of him, and he also worked at the hospital. So I knew that he wasn't doing anything, and so we met up and we started jamming. First, he sent me 2 songs. The very, very first song was Who's in the Mirror. Second song he ever sent was Buried Beneath the Surface. And both of those ended up being on the first EP that we released. Who's in the Mirror scared the hell out of me because coming from horror punk, Grim was very heavy. It was very hard. More themed around, horror movies, killings, things like that. I have a darker personality. I always gravitate towards that stuff. So that was my, my comfort zone. But he sent me Who's in the Mirror, who has a reggae breakdown. Scared the shit out of me because I didn't know what to do. That wasn't my genre. That wasn't what I was used to. But it also opened my eyes to be more creative. this is a fresh start. You can do whatever you want now. Push yourself. Learn how to do more. Sing better, And so we started jamming with Mark. And we were jamming for about 3-4 months. I think it was October of 21, where Eric was working with my ex at the time at W.L. Gore. And he was the same boat. He's like, man, I'm not in this band anymore. I want to play music. I'm not happy. And then she asked him, if you could see yourself being happy, what would it be doing? I'd be on stage playing music. She's like, well, they're starting a new band. I'm going to give him your contact number. So she gave him our contact. Eric sent me a demo that it was a pop song. And him singing on it sounded just like The Weeknd. Like to a T, just like The Weeknd.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna say I'm a fan of The Weeknd. I think his voice is incredible. So that was cool for me. I'm like, okay, let's bring you in. Let's see what you got. And so he showed up immediately. Dude, him and I started going back and forth with the joking, your mom jokes, the dick jokes. So once I knew like our personalities could click and we can have fun, and we can also take this thing seriously, it all just worked out. And from there, we haven't stopped.
No, you guys are also fucking road dogs, and you have a full-time job, and you have kids, and I don't know how the fuck you make that work.
I don't either. I don't either.
Eric, it was funny when you said that he could, like, when he was singing, because a lot of people don't know that, because sometimes you get, like, and I'm not going to shit talk sound guys, but sound guys are kind of dicks a lot of the time, and, like, they don't balance the sound very well. And I remember we were playing a show on tour, and I could finally hear Eric and, like, both of you guys were singing at the same time, and he cut through the mix, like, way harder than he did in Las Vegas. And I was like, yo, these guys, like, together are pretty fucking unstoppable. Yeah. And, so, like, first, I just thought Eric's got pipe for the longest time.
He he could sing very well. He's extremely talented.
This is before the singing. I was just like, he can lay some pipe. And then I heard him sing, and I was like, he's got pipes. So, yeah, impeccable stroke game and a very nice singing voice. So, shout out to Eric.
Definitely. Definitely.
I wanted to ask, too, who are your biggest influences, both, like, musically and, like, art-wise?
Musically?
You have a very, sorry, not to cut you off, but, like, for a lot of people that don't understand or haven't seen it yet, you do have, like, horror-inspired art that you do, but it also has, like, at least from, like, the way that I look at it, because I'm a geek for this kind of shit, it has this, like, classic comic feel to it, like, almost like a pulpy vibe to it that I get. It kind of, like, it reminds me of, like, that mixed with, like, horror. Yeah. So, I always wondered where that came from.
I mean, I'm a fan of, I love vintage artwork. Vintage like music and artwork from the 1920s, the 30s, the 40s, just all the way up, dude. It's still timeless, that I can't ever see it getting old. And if you go back and you just look at the artwork and just the detail that they would put in, like, all those pieces, and back then there was no computers, there was nothing. They had to actually sit there and by hand create that stuff. So very talented people back then too, and not a lot of people, take the time to notice those things. But I've always fallen in love with flapper girl artwork, pinup girl artwork. Jade's girlfriend, at their house, they have this beautiful piece that I think she said her grandmother had made, but it's like a ballerina, and she's in that style, and, like, just how she's displayed, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. And so really, when we started Vacant Skies, that's the first piece of art that really triggered me to be like, you know what, I want to do art in that direction. So normally I was used to pen and paper mediums, and I had my hands on an iPad, and this is the first time I tried digital artwork, and I haven't stopped since. Which is kind of good and bad, but at the same time, when I go back to paper and pen, I have to relearn because textures are different. So what I'm trying to do now is create on paper and then transfer it to the iPad, go over digital. So do kind of like a mixed medium as well.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. When I was in Seattle one time, my brother and I went to, it was like my whole family. We went to Mopop, and we got to go look at, like, some of the, there was a Marvel exhibit, and we were looking at some of the, I'm not a huge fan of his storytelling, but I'm a big fan of Frank Miller's artwork. And so we got to see, like, an original, like a panel full of, like, what he did and how he did it. And, like, like, when you read a comic book, you look at it and you kind of think, like, oh, this is how it's done or whatever. Like, it looks like this. No, back in the day, back in the 80s, and, like, even, like, prior to that, they used to do it on like a big piece of paper. So it's a big sheet of paper, and they would sit and like draw out every single thing like very intricately, and like and it goes through all the stages of it, like pencils, inks, colors, and then like the dialogue gets added to. So I've always had a deep appreciation for it, although it's not something that has ever been in my wheelhouse. Like I can't fucking draw. I can just appreciate it. And then, so what about like music wise? Who would you say are your biggest influences?
Music wise, for many reasons, we kind of talked about this on tour a little bit. Davey Havoc will be. All my life, I've had comparisons to this dude. People would say, you look like him, do this and that. It's unintentional. I am who I am. I like what I like. There are some common grounds there. But as a musician, the dude's phenomenal. And I have yet to find somebody else who, in every aspect, has been able to one-up himself, in my opinion. And not only that with his main band, but with each act that he goes out and does side projects with, like Extremist or Dream Car, whatever, he's this different persona and he's this different character, but it's still so true to who he is. And his passion, he's outspoken advocate for being vegan and being straight edge. His passion for what he believes and being able to maintain his lifestyle and his health to do what he loves, to me, that's been the biggest inspiration as a musician.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm wearing an AFI t-shirt. I didn't even plan that today, but I have my AFI shirt on. I got AFI tattoos on me and shit. Like you actually, a lot of people, I don't think, what you're seeing is my bedroom, but I actually have, you can't see it because my shitty webcam, but I do have you gave me a copy of the handwritten lyrics from The Missing Man from like that Davey, like so fucking cool, dude. And like, I mean, I appreciate the hell out of that and I framed it, but, yeah, he's always been like a massive influence for me, which is so weird because and I've gotten comparisons too, especially like the earlier iterations of like music that I made sounded very akin to like Sum 41 and Blink 182, like because the number stigma. But like at the end of the day, dude, it doesn't really fucking matter to me who people draw comparisons to because like you kind of I remember this one time very specifically. I was at the Marquee and I was watching NoFX and this band opened for them, and I don't want to say the name of the band because I don't want to get it wrong, but it was one of these bands that plays in a style of music that I'm not really a big fan of. It was Ramones. It's like Ramones style punk rock, and like if you're a punk rock fan, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. It's bands that are huge fans of the Ramones. They come out and they do it. But anyway, I remember watching the singer. He was down talking to people at the merch table, which if you play at the Marquee, lots of bands don't do that. Yeah. But he was out there, they played a killer set, and we went up and talked to him, and my brother and I were like standing in line behind somebody, and somebody was like, hey, you guys sound a lot like the Ramones and like Teenage Bottle Rocket. And he was like, fuck yeah, dude, I love those bands. And then he took the picture with them, and then they walked out. And it reframed my entire mindset about how when people say these things, they don't, some people do mean it kind of like maliciously, but I've learned to take it like when people are like, oh, you guys sound like Blink or you sound like Phoenix TX. I'm like, that's fucking awesome, dude. I love those bands. And then just take it and move on. So, I mean, that's how I look at it, at least. And
definitely, I've had to learn to take it as a compliment, because if I could be, in any comparison or matter, you're going to always, whatever your influences are, they come out in some way or another, Especially when it comes to music, those bands, those songs. I'm a huge fan of the Ramones. I have been since I was a child as well. But those things will always come out in one way or another, And you can't avoid that.
No, right? Go listen to the early AFI shit.
Yeah.
And listen to Elvis and Danzig before you do. And you'll hear that influence, and they're heavy.
Elvis and Danzig, big time.
Do you have... Okay, this is kind of I was going to swing at the wall with this one a little bit, but... So, do you understand like what I mean when I say like, do you have ruined music? And what I mean is like you have like a past relationship or like a bad friendship or like something that you associate something that you used to love like with. You know what I'm talking about? Like there's music that you used to really like, and then like somebody or like a situation or a past relationship kind of like ruined it for you.
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. You're gonna make me think here. Honestly, not off the top of my head. I mean, there's obviously songs or moments in time and in life that you can, you hear a song and it takes you back there and you don't really want to revisit those places again. Yeah. Depending on the situation or the person you were with. So I guess there's a few instances there, but...
One of the ones that I have is Death Cab for Cutie was like one of my ex-girlfriend's favorite bands, and I love Death Cab for Cutie. And then after that happened, like after that was done, I swore off Death Cab for so long, and then eventually I was like, you don't get to fucking take that from me. And then I like slowly integrated him back in, and like I went to the Postal Service death capture.
Jealous.
So fucking amazing.
Dude.
But yeah, I was wondering if you had anything like that, because it's funny how those kind of things happen.
Yeah.
Like the music kind of like holds that weird like emotional bond to like good and bad.
That's the thing. And so the reason why I can take you back to those moments is because that emotional connection that you had in that time. So,
right.
I've kind of a similar situation. I had, a previous relationship where she was really into Blue October. Yeah, I don't know the name of the fucking song. It's something about the fucking ocean and want to swim away but don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. So every time I hear that song, I'm like, God, fucking it. It's just a reminder to me that
Right.
I can say that I wasted that amount of time in my life with this person that never went anywhere, but I'm also glad I didn't, go any farther than what it did. So it's a love-hate for sure.
One of the biggest ones for me is fucking the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like, there was this kid that I used to work with, and he would come in and he would put the same fucking album on repeat in the back of house when we were working at this restaurant, and it would like loop. And then I grew to fucking resent the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Anytime they'd come on, I'd be like, California. I get so fucking skibbity bop. Fucking, I get so upset about it.
Yeah.
That's funny. So given the cynical nature of the album that we're going to talk about later, because there's moments of like bleak, loss of hope type moments in this album, I want to know some of your worsts. So number one that I got for you, where is the worst place to eat food in Flagstaff?
Oh, fuck. Unpopular opinion for sure. I am not a fan of any Indian cuisine. When I was a kid, I went to, and I can't remember the name of the restaurant now, but I went to a restaurant with my aunt, and they had these like little pepper things. And I don't know if it's for spice or whatever, but I ate too many of them, and so I got really sick, and I threw up all over the car. I threw up all over the place. So anytime I smell curry or I'm around, anything like those spices, I immediately go right back there, and I can't. So in my opinion, any Indian restaurant that we have here, again, no puns intended for anybody else, but it's just my opinion. I'm not a fan of it at all.
That's funny. All right. Okay. Number two that I got for you is, what is the worst show that you've ever played?
Oh, shit.
Any band. It doesn't have to be Vacant Skies specifically, but what's the worst show?
Oh, man. Let's see. No, they're all good. I could always find good moments in all these shows in both bands, but there was one show with Vacant Skies that we didn't play. I don't know if that counts, but it was
sure, yeah.
It was at the Blues Bar. I think, where is that at in Phoenix? Do you know where that's located?
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So we get there, and the owners of the venue were flipping out because the bands wanted to bring their merch in. Obviously, we take in the merch, we set up the tables, we get ready for the show, right? Didn't want that to happen. Didn't want the bands to touch the tables. Don't want them setting up inside. You're going to set up your stuff outside, and whenever you have to go play your set, no one's watching it. Not our problem. Deal with it, pretty much. It was just a horrible situation. And I was bummed because we were going to play with Snailmate. And we saw Snailmate downtown at the Monty V, and then this was the first time we were going to get to play with them. And I was so excited. And they just had they posted on Instagram these tie-dye shirts they were going to sell, for the show. And so I really wanted my fucking shirt. And I was pissed because the owners were just being an asshole. And I got to the point where Jade and I, it's a good thing and a bad thing depending on the situation, but we can really feed each other's fire. And so there was a problem where Jade's girlfriend was coming in and she was going to help work the merch for us. So obviously she's part of us, They were not letting her through the door because they wanted her to pay, which then got him all fired up, which then got me all fired up. So then him and I go outside with one of the owners and calmly, I will say this and I'll give credit to us where it's due, we calmly tried to talk the situation through with one of the owners to explain that she was there working merch with us. Didn't want to hear it. Kept saying, why are you raising your voice? All this, that, blah, blah, blah. And it got to the point where we just lost our patience. It was done. A few minutes later, don't know what happened, honestly, but we were all in front of that venue screaming and cussing, back and forth. The owners and us and them, just back and forth. And then Eric was trying to pull Jade and I out. Let's go. Let's screw it. They're not worth it. Let's go. And then the moment he stepped foot off their property, he just fucking turns around. You know what? We're not playing your fucking stupid venue, you stupid sunburnt leather piece of shit motherfucker. Like, he was just going and going. And so, Snowmate didn't know what the hell was going on. So we went around back where their van was, and we're like, hey, we're not playing this place. We're not playing this show. We're not supporting what they're doing. It's not cool how they're treating the bands. It's not cool how they're treating, anybody in the situation. And we're going to go home. Like, we're not doing this. And they were really bummed out, and we were bummed out. But luckily, we got to get the shirts and stuff, and that created the bond between us and them, which we still have to this day.
Snailmate's the shit. Those guys are real as fuck.
They're amazing. I don't know how they keep up with their schedules. It's incredible. But
oh yeah, I don't know. They played in like fucking Japan and stuff, dude.
Twice.
They're wild.
Twice.
Yeah, they're so fucking good too. Like they're so entertaining. Like our drummer's girlfriend is like, that's one of her favorite bands. So anytime we've gotten to like, and I will say, like, I'm not gonna suck dick a lot, but I will say that like anytime we've gotten to like the privilege of sharing a stage with Snailmate, not only do they bring the fucking intensity every time, but like, man, they're just so fucking good and entertaining, and their merch is funny and their hot sauce is good. Like, yeah, they're fucking awesome.
Have you tried the hot sauce yet?
Yeah, they let me try it the last time I got to sit and like hang out with them. They had like an open bottle in Cottonwood. Because I don't know, we just sat out there and hung out with them.
Yeah, we played together, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good one. I was gonna say shout out Titty Graveyard, because that's where it came from.
Crazy.
I was gonna ask you, actually. I had a third follow up to this. This was gonna be my last question for the interview segment, but I'm actually gonna take over a little bit. I wrote down the worst tour story, but I think I have one. So there was this time that the original tour was supposed to go all the way to San Diego, right?
Yep.
There was a fucking shit show with the San Diego show like you lost the band, and then I was like, I'll start helping out, because like you did all the work, and then I was like, I can help try to like find a couple bands, which California bands, man, they're notoriously flaky.
Yeah.
But start getting a hold of these people. There's bands that can commit. There's people that are dropping out. The venue starts being like, we triple book the night, so you're playing after a karaoke show or whatever.
Yep.
So we finally get the show relocated to like a house show. And I'm like, I'll redact shit. I'm not going to redact this one, because I want people to know very clearly we're not associated with these fucking people. It's something called Brock SD House. So Brock SD House is going to put us on. They're promising like this massive turnout and shit, because like we're getting the same messages. We're all in a group chat. And then out of nowhere, somebody's saying like, oh, did you know that Brock SD is an abuser and all this shit? Then they're sending us Google Drive files that are just full of all this bullshit. So we're like, what the fuck, man? So you messaged me personally and was like, we got to get the fuck out of this show.
Yeah.
And so we did. We all dropped off of it. Then they added us to another group chat, not knowing that my band was out of it. And then they were going to put us on a different show in a different house in San Diego. And then we got a separate like slew of messages from another fucking page that was like, you thought Brock was worse? These guys are way worse. And they start sending us Google Drive files and all kinds of shit. And I was like, what? What the absolute fuck, dude? So we dropped the San Diego show and called it a night in Long Beach. And then you guys went home, and we stayed for that one night.
Yeah.
But do you have a worst tour story? Like a story that sticks out of like the worst thing that's happened on tour?
Honestly, I don't think so. Aside from that, our last tour when we toured on Panic Theory, we had to sleep in a lot of truck stops in the car. And so when Jade's not comfortable, he turns and groans a lot, which would then wake me up. And then they would get up and down, in and out of the car all the time. So that was hard, especially when you had 11, 12, 13-hour drives every day. But aside from that, I would say, I would agree with you. From our perspective, that has been one of the worst, just because the constant bullshit. And we were getting hit with messages too. I was getting it on my personal Instagram. I was getting it on the band's Instagram. Just all these people from the scene, avoid this person, avoid this place, avoid Brock at all costs, because same reason. He's an abuser. He's involved in all these things. And it's just the same deal, dude. We were getting drive files. We were getting photos of people's messages, like personal text messages from this guy regarding these situations. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know who this fucking dude is. Like, I was like, we're just trying to play a fucking show. And
Exactly.
It was like every time we thought we got it figured out,
Nope.
It was like, oh, you thought you had it figured out? Well, check this shit out.
Nope.
And then, it just got worse and worse. I was like, what the fuck, dude? I'm just trying to play a show.
In our experience with touring Northern California, and when you get down to the Santa Barbara, Carpinteria area, phenomenal. They work well. The bands stick to what they say they're going to do. Once you get down to the LA area, it's a fucking shit show. And there's a lot of things I could say the reason why I think that is, but like when we played Doll Hut, they didn't even have us on the fucking bill, dude. Nobody told us that was going on. We show up thinking we're going to play all these people are here. This is fucking cool. And then we have to go find out where the hell our sluts are because nobody told them until, the day before.
Yes, and then there was first off, Doll Hut had to have one of the gnarliest bathrooms I've ever, unfortunately had to use. But they had a memorial show for somebody, like a friend that had, passed away recently. Yeah. So we show up, there's all these people in mourning over this woman who had just passed away, which was, that was awkward, because so they had this big setup outside, but they had this table and these fences and shit, and we're like, dude, this is rad. There's a bunch of people here. Then this other band plays that I don't remember who the fuck they were, but they did not like us at all. They got up there, played their set, get done, everybody's gone, crickets, and then we played for the bartender.
Yep.
Oh, and your guy showed up on the bike.
I call him the Growler.
The Growler, yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the Growler is a character that on our first tour with Vacant Skies, we went and played the Doll Hut. And he would be there at the side of the stage, and he would just be throwing out the devil horns, just as best as he could, doing the growls. I'm not going to I'm not going to not intimidate. Why can't I speak? I'm not going to copy them here because I won't do it well. But he will growl and he will growl and he will sing to you. He was under the streetlight singing to us, and I have video of it, and it's fucking hilarious. Crazy thing is, though, that was the first time they've seen him since the last time we played there. So the bartender, the sound guy, they were all wondering where he was and if he was okay. And apparently he was from 400 miles north. Don't know if he biked the whole fucking way there, but he was there.
He was definitely, he was definitely also riding a bike.
And so seeing him, I don't give a fuck who we played to, dude. As long as he was there, and it was so cool that he was there, standing in the same spot as he was the first time, I was so happy. It was a great night.
Dude, yeah, we get done, and then Growler was back in the wind. He hopped on that bicycle and started huffing and puffing.
Yep.
All right, dude. That is the conclusion of the interview segment. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the album Burials by AFI. Hello and welcome to the Potty Break. I don't have anything to plug. I'm just going to let you guys hear some of my thoughts right now. So I think that, you know how Good Mythical Morning calls their fans mythical beasts, or Your Mom's House has mommies and jeans or whatever. I think that the listeners of this podcast at some point, they're going to have a name. And so here's what I'm working with. This is what I got so far. Tickle Monsters. What's up, Tickle Monsters? I don't really have, there's no context to that though. It's just kind of something that I thought about. What else did I have? Oh, Pissers. Because there's a piss-centric theme to the beginning of every single episode for whatever reason. I think that I don't have the audacity to call people fans of the podcast, but at some point I want to find something that people are happy to, maybe honky. I can call everybody, what's up, honkies? Welcome to another episode of Visceral Musings. All right, honkies, let's get back to this episode of Visceral Musings. Thank you for listening to me ramble. All right, so I apologize first off for how I sound today. I am getting butt-fucked by allergies, but we're going to push through. Today, we are talking about the album Burials from AFI, which, if I'm correct, it came out in 2013. And that fucks with me heavily because that's my end of high school. But yeah, so first thing that I want to highlight, going into this, is first off, this is Jade and Davey firing on all fucking cylinders, to me personally. But the thing that AFI always seems to do so beautifully is open an album. And I think that Sinking Night and I Hope You Suffer are not only not an exception to that, but also just a perfect example of how fucking great they are at opening an album. Especially, I read too that Sinking Night, there's a 4 to 5 minute unreleased version of the song. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, God damn it, I wish that wasn't just sitting in someone's hard drive. I wish I could listen to that so bad. Yeah. But I think that I Hope You Suffer is sort of a reintroduction into why this band just fucking rules so goddamn much. And the unforgiving and resentful nature of this album, the lyrics are so beautifully delivered by Davey in such a way that only he can do it. And I Hope You Suffer is such a fucking it's if you just say that, I hope you suffer. That's a brutal fucking thing to say. And I think it really just sets the tone for how the album goes and just the overall theme of the album.
Yeah, definitely. Dude, the Sinking Night. I mean, when I first bought that was the last thing I bought at that Rocker Man record store here in Flag before they closed down.
That's rad, yeah.
And I was so happy because I got it early. And then we were going to go, I had tickets to see them at the Marquee Theater the next night. So I got to hear the songs prior to everybody else, which is fucking cool. I was excited for it.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, that's so fucking cool.
And when I put that on, and I was driving to Phoenix to go stay at my parents for that show, dude, I had goosebumps. Like, I had chills. Just the way, how it's so deep and it's so sonic and it's so fucking beautiful.
I wish that I could listen to my first albums, like my favorite albums. I wish that I could listen to them for the first time, just one more fucking time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, there's something so special about that.
Following that, like, for me, Burials is that way. Every time I put that record on, to me, it is like the first time. It hits in all the right places. It's, there's a lot of things that I go through currently that I can still relate to in those songs and in those moments. And so that's why it's my favorite. It's very special. It's very interconnected with what I feel also.
This album and like the Burials tour was the first time that I got to see AFI, and it was like a mainstay in my arsenal of music for the end of high school, which I don't know why I thought of this so much for like junior, senior year, but it was like my junior year, I guess. So the second half of my high school career was like Burials and Extremist era of like Davey. But I was able to convert a lot of my friends who were like not so much into this style of music to AFI fans by showing them like 17 Crimes, which is like fucking, it's obvious that that's such a great fucking song. But when I hear it, I remember, like you were just saying, so many important like parts of my life are like being a teenager and transitioning into like adulthood and like, but when you hear it, where and when can you tell us specifically does this album take you?
Oh man, it could take me many places. I'm gonna dive a little personal. It could take me into loss of friendships, loss of relationships, loss of people that I thought would always be there that are no longer there, having to rise out of the ashes of the turmoil which that causes, having to learn to recognize yourself and who you are. I mean, once you come out of that mess, it's kind of hard to, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you've gone through some shit. I don't really recognize who this person is, but we're going to find out who you are all over again. So every time I hear that album, it takes me through those motions, both past and present. I currently go through a lot of, much like all of us, we all go through a lot of things in life. Life is hard. But that's also why it's my most, my go-to album. Yeah.
I think this is it's a great breakup album. And like when I wrote that at like the time of writing it, cause like a lot of people don't know these, when I do these, I take it very seriously. Like I'm very passionate about this podcast, but when I revisited this album, I started like writing down that it was a breakup album, but then I realized that it's not just like a breakup album. Cause when you hear breakup, you think of like, romantic relationships, but like what you said, I think sums it up very perfectly with like, it's not just a relationships, it's like, it's friendships too. And like when I've lost friends, like whether that be like physically, like they have passed away or like we're not friends anymore, there's something about this album that like, although it is kind of brutal, I think that there's a healing nature of this album that like people often overlook. So yeah, I agree. I think that was beautifully said, man.
I think it's the way to be able to relate to those emotions that Davey's portraying in those songs, right, and in those lyrics. A lot of those times when you go in through those turmoils and chaos through life, like a lot of the time you feel alone and you feel like you have nowhere to go and you have no escape. And it might be juvenile to say, but it feels like no one understands where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And so when you're able to put that on and you can be like, oh wow, like I resonate with that lyric, or that lyric makes me feel like I haven't been the only one that's gone through this, or it's very comforting in a way. It is a very healing record as well.
To be able to listen to something where somebody sums up, like it sometimes it's hard to put like an emotion to words or to paint like a visual picture of like how you're feeling. And sometimes it is just kind of like a brutal way of stating it. And like that, I think this album does that for me, especially when I listen to it. I feel it's crazy because like I listened to it just recently, and I've noticed actually something that's kind of weird is I don't have a lot of these songs in playlists, but it's one of my favorite albums. And so when I go back and listen to it as like a collection, it runs. So, I mean, like, I think it might be AFI's first time ending an album perfectly, because they're so good at opening an album. But like I think Davey even said it in an interview where he's like, this is the first time where we wrote like a fucking ending to an album, and I would have to second that. But one of the things I wanted to highlight in this is because I play bass. I've always been a bass player, and AFI, like mostly early AFI, which is like pre-Hunter. But this album has Hunter bass lines that are so slept on. 17 Crimes is such a bass-driven song, and that's probably why I gravitated toward it so hard. The Embrace has got an amazing bass line in it that and it's a weird bass line too. Like they replace like something that might be like a synthesized bass or something, but with like an actual bass, and then a Deep Slow Panic. Those are like solid examples of like just Hunter being a great bass player. And obviously, I mean, Jade's amazing, and like Adam is one of my favorite drummers, but I think Hunter deserves a little stroke of the ego right there.
Yeah, definitely. I think Hunter as a whole, dude, gets, in my opinion, overlooked a lot for his talent and how he plays bass. Not only how he plays bass and what he's able to write. I think we were talking about that on tour. Those videos that he posted of him just going through his lines on these songs.
Yeah.
And older AFI stuff too. They're very technical. You know, he's putting a lot into what's going on there, and not only that, but he's able to do that while he's performing, and not just standing in one stationary area on the stage, but he's going back and forth, spinning his bass. He's giving it his all while still able to do that. That's incredible.
That is true. Yeah, he puts his whole pussy into that shit. When I wrote my second question, which is like what I'm about to ask you, I didn't expect for you to already kind of get there, but I'm just kind of reiterate a little bit. And so some people don't understand this question. I think you're going to get it perfectly. But when you put in this album, like what is I said put in, when you put it in, that's like such that shows where I'm at. Cause I still think of like physical format, but like when you throw it on the turntable or like you put it in the CD player, but when you throw this album on, what is your emotional response to it? Like when you listen to it, and like in Larry's little heart of hearts, what emotions like get stirred up for you? Like what do you feel from this album?
Oh man, dude. That's a loaded question as well. Depends on which song I go to. Mm-hmm. You go to songs like The Embrace, that song to me is about betrayal. And there's a lyric in there, and it's my most, if I can credit a lyric as being my favorite, this will always be my favorite. To take my deepest breath, I walk into the raging sea. To drown down this emptiness is all you have left for me. Like, if you can visualize that, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. Like, to think that outcome of walking into the raging sea would be the only thing that could cover up the emotional damage that someone has done to somebody else. I relate to that in a very direct way. And so when I put on that song in particular, it's to go through those emotions because I think you need to go through the emotions that you feel and push through them and not cope and crutch with something else to try to get through them. But it's also, again, it's just a reminder to me that, you're not the only one that's gone through these things, and it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to share these feelings. And that is also a main reason why I love just the album as a whole, is because Davey is not shy to tell you that when he wrote this record, he was embarrassed at what he was saying, because it's so typical of him. Of course, he always goes towards the darker side of things, but he's a very emotionally driven person also. So if you want honesty, you're going to get what you're going to get, and that's what we got with this album. And so, that's why I go to it, because I know what he's giving is honest, and so I know what I'm relating to is from a place of honesty, and that helps me cope with whatever.
Yeah, it's very raw, and like it feels like an exposed nerve in some ways. Like when you listen to it, it's so on the nose in some parts. Like if I knew him probably like a little bit more personally, I'd be like, oh shit, I know exactly who you're talking about. That's funny that you said so I actually wrote down a couple of lyrical standouts as well. One of my favorites is I'll climb back up to you on ladders of the rain. That is an amazing fucking lyric. Another one that I wrote, I'm going to run through this kind of quick. So the reason why I didn't write a ton of lyrical standouts in this is because if I just write down everything I like, then I'm going to be like, yeah, I had so many because I mean, like even just I hope you suffer as a lyric is so good. But they told us love can save, so we both prepared our graves. And that's from Greater Than 84. I've always loved that line. I love the imagery of it. I love how dramatic it is. It's very like Morrissey sounding, but it's not in a Morrissey sounding song. So like that's another perfect example of like them wearing their influences on their sleeve, but not exactly sounding like it. One of my favorites, though, and like I'm really excited that we're in a format where I can talk about this shit, and like especially with somebody who's going to understand where I'm coming from on it. So the song "Heart Stops," the first verse of the song, he says, "Oh, my pretty precious stone just left me in ribbons, with my heart sliced carefully. You wear it like a cheerful bow." And then the second verse is, "Oh, my painful fatal flaw, may your cruelty find you. May the scars you left in me dig into you twice as deep." And so those lyrics on their own, they read so brutal and heavy and emotional over this like very pop inspired and like approachable instrumental. Like if you were to take the song on its own, it sounds like just a very approachable, like poppy song. But the emotion and the depth of the song really does come from the lyrics and the vocal delivery of it. And the way that the two, I'm a big slut for like mirroring verses, and that comes from like my inspiration I've gotten from especially AFI or like Taking Back Sunday, where he reiterates the same point, but presents it in a different way. The emotional impact that I get from this album sometimes is just from like not only what he's saying, but the way he fucking says it, because you can convey so much emotion in like an instrumental as well. But like when the instrumental dials back just so that you can punch people in the fucking balls with your words and your voice, that's what makes me love this album too. Like on a separate note. So yeah, that was my take on Heart Stops.
No, I definitely agree with you. I can't disagree at all. You hit the nail on the head there.
I have. I've never heard anyone say this before, so I really hope that I'm the first one. So this is, I don't often pre-write stuff, but I wrote this down so that I could follow it. There's a contrast of hope and wanting to feel something. That's like a recurring theme in the album, is like absence of hope, betrayal, and like there's a brutal honesty to it, but there's also, it's weird because he says like there's an absence of hope, but he also talks about like, especially in like 17 Crimes, I want to feel something. I want to feel this way again, which I know is intentional. And it sums up the feeling of being alone or being betrayed or heartbroken. But I feel like, and like, this was mind-blowing for me, these are Davey Havok's bad bitch anthems. So these are his, so he's not going to write shit like Good as Hell by Lizzo, and he's not going to write Single Ladies, but he will write I Hope You Suffer, and he will write shit like I Am Part of You, and I Will Be With You Again, and make it goddamn haunting. Like it literally like sinks into you and you're like, oh, I don't like the way that this feels. And so like, I feel like this is, instead of saying like, I do my hair toss, check my nails, it's, instead of that, it's I hope you suffer. But he also says, slowly I swallowed your fears for all of these years. How could you let them consume me? Teach me how you sleep so sweetly. And then I thought, basically, that's just Girl on Fire. But AFI.
Again, I don't disagree with you there, and I think that speaks into what we're talking about, the honesty of what he's trying to say, you know, and where he's coming from.
Yeah, that's rad that you got. Is this one of those instances where you got to get the album like before like drop from the record store?
Yeah, what was really cool is outside of the marquee, I was chilling with Hunter and Adam.
Oh, that was
the first time they have ever got to see or hold the vinyl version of the album. So my copy, they signed it for me, but that was the first time they ever personally got to see it. So that was awesome.
That is so fucking cool. Have you met them like a couple times, or was it like one-offs?
I've met Adam and Hunter a couple times, both in Phoenix and Vegas. Davey, I met him I was at a Black Audio show. I think it was 2012. It was in 2012 at Hard Rock in Las Vegas. It was for the Bright Black Heaven tour.
Oh, for Black Audio. Yeah, okay, you just said that. Never mind. Ignore me.
And I was walking through Hard Rock. My sister and I and my ex and her friend, we were leaving. We were leaving the Hard Rock, and I was looking down, and we were just walking. I always look down when I walk. 'Cause in the casino, you never know what the fuck you're gonna find. You find money, you find whatever, you know.
I found a weave last time I was there. I was like, man, somebody probably needs this. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I look up and I see Davey, and then Davey looks at me, and it was the weirdest thing. Is like once we saw each other, we knew, like I knew who he was, and he knew I wanted to talk to him. So he kind of split away from his crew, and he came to me, and so I thought that was really weird. I was taken back by that, because normally in a person of you know a rock star, I guess you can say, won't take the time. If you notice them, they'll just continue on. But he took the time to come out, leave his friends, come talk to me. And I got to talk with him, share with him how I feel, thanked him for everything he's done, everything he's written and how it meant to me. Fangirled a little bit, but he was very, very patient. He was very kind when he spoke. He was very, very kind. So I guess that can confirm some of the stuff I've heard about him prior, but took photos with us. He asked if we had a Sharpie because he was going to sign our posters for us. So I have a signed, I have a signed poster that he signed for us there. I was just taken back just how kind he was. How kind they all have been, dude. Hunter, I met with him the second time in Vegas at Mandalay Bay. I ran into him over there, and we were just sitting there chit-chatting about his work with Tegan and Sarah and like what his plans were to do with them after AFI was done. So it's just really cool. I've been very fortunate to be able to, talk with the people that meant the most.
Yeah, it's fucking dope, man. I didn't know that story. That's so cool. One of the things that I wanted to highlight too is there are some non-single sleeper hits on here that deserve love. And so I think Heart Stops might have been a single, but if it wasn't, we already talked about like why I like that song. But Rewind is fucking rad. The Embrace is so much like there's a lot of instances of like, I mean, you could argue too, like there's stuff on like Sing the Sorrow that really kind of highlights like what would Black Audio and AFI sound like if they were both on the same album or whatever. I think The Embrace is especially like some of the electronic elements that kind of sneak into that song are like so like modern Black Audio and AFI on the same fucking song. Yeah. Which it does. I mean, obviously they're the same guys, but AFI and Black Audio don't sound the same to me.
What's crazy is some of the AFI stuff that we do have, like 37mm, Love Like Winter. Those were supposed to be Black Audio songs.
Oh, really?
Yep, they were not written for AFI, and somehow along the way, Jade found them again, showed them to Davey, and then they put them onto those albums, which is crazy. It's crazy to think about how it kind of goes back and forth.
Some of these songs, like The Conductor, I read because like Gil Norton was the producer of the album, which is interesting because like to say he's like the producer, Jade and Davey most of the time, I'm not going to say because I didn't look too deep into the production of the album, but they usually write the songs and pre-record them on their own, and then they take it to a producer, and then they start doing they start to actually do the production on the album. And The Conductor wasn't supposed to be on the album, and then they went back and listened to it again, and they were like, "Yo, this song's actually pretty fucking dope," and then ends up making the album.
That song is incredible. Yeah. It's just the opening hit of oh my God. I get chills thinking about it. So heavy.
It was, for me, it was like the first time that they ended up blacking out a lot of stuff on their like Instagram and their websites at the time.
Yep.
And I was like, oh shit, something's going to happen. And then they started posting these weird black and white teasers on their websites. And my brother and my older brother, Corey, is like, he's such a fucking massive AFI and Black Audio fan. But he's sending me the link and stuff, and we're clicking on it. And then one day I click on it and I say, I hope you suffer. And then I heard him yelling again because like Crash Love notoriously is a lot more like it's more singing. It's more like I would say it's more approachable, but it's not exactly in the way that you would think that it is. But Crash Love was polarizing, and when Burials came out, that we're obviously like we're going into a new era of AFI. But I thought that it was just so fucking rad to hear, like, if you really take into account where this band started and, like, what they were when they were in, like, the East Bay hardcore scene to, like, Burials. It's so hard to imagine that this is the same band, but for some reason, it just makes so much sense. Yeah. Yeah, just somebody who they can constantly reinvent themselves.
Dude, if you listen to Answer That and Stay Fashionable and you listen to Burials, like it's strange to think. And you can see the common veins there. Like, it's the same band, but it's just the growth that they've had along the way. It's incredible.
Yeah. So I don't often do this because I usually say, like, for you, what are your closing statements? But I actually wrote my own closing statement on this one. And so this album for me, it encompasses all eras of AFIs. Like, they have an extensive and a diverse history. Like you were saying, like if you listen to Answer That and Stay Fashionable and you go up to like Burials or even the Blood album, there is this magic that exists within Burials that it the way that I like to think of it is it French kisses the past and then it moonwalks into the future. And there's
Love it.
the way that the vocals are delivered in this album are not only like impactful, but they're beautiful and they're beautifully written and they're so fucking perfect to me in so many ways. And like, I think that like the instrumental, it's dynamic, it is creative, it's atmospheric, and it's also gut punching. And this band is a lot of things, but never have they ever been uninteresting. AFI will never be uninteresting, despite how you feel about them. And for me, this album is growth. And it is reinvention. I think it is brutal, it's impactful, and it deserves an honest listen. And so this is a band that cannot be labeled. And if you're an old fan or if you're like a new fan or somebody who casually enjoys them and wants to get into them, I think that Burials is either the perfect introduction or the perfect reintroduction to AFI.
Yep.
So my question is, what are your? I usually use the word closing arguments. It's not like we're really defending this one. I think it's pretty solid on its own. But what are your closing statements? What is this album to you, and why do you give such a shit about it? And why do you think we should give a shit about it?
Again, for me, it's just from that emotional standpoint. You know, things that you go through in life. Again, sometimes you feel like you're alone. Sometimes you feel like no one can relate or nothing can relate. And so, to me, I know that that's my place that I can go to. That's my safe space where I can go back and I can heal through the trauma, through the pain, through whatever it is I might be going through. And I would recommend it for anybody because, like I said, life's hard for all of us, right? None of us should pretend that, life doesn't have its ups and downs because it does for everybody. And if you're a fan of music and you're a fan of AFI or punk or hardcore, I think you would get a good common ground between the two here, and then you'd be able to appreciate not only musically and sonically what it's doing, but also lyrically. If you took the time to read the lyrics, then you can truly see where this specific individual is coming from, and you might be able to pull something from it that you couldn't find anywhere else.
I think I like to how you put it that like you read these lyrics and they kind of like informed the rest of how you approached it. Like one day you were reading the lyric booklet along with this album, you read something and then you're like, I'm going to write differently forever now. That is fucking wild if you really, really think about it. And so it's amazing that like on a dime, you can pull that line out of your ass and be like, this is where it came from. Because I do the same thing, but like, it's funny to hear, it's interesting for me to hear somebody else do it and like what it is. So, but thank you for doing this with me.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
That concludes our part of AFI's Burials. But another first for me, I'm going to do my top three. And my top three is just the songs on the album. And it might be kind of a basic bitch-ass list, but in no particular order, my top three off the album Burials would be I Hope You Suffer, 17 Crimes, and A Deep Slow Panic. Those are my three and I don't think that they're like necessarily the best songs on the album per se, but they're the ones that like I find myself always revisiting them, especially A Deep Slow Panic. That's always been such a big one for me. So do you want to give us your top three from Burials?
Yes, but before I'm going to show you something real quick. I think you appreciate it. Hold on.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, he's taking his pants. Oh, I'm just kidding.
There you go. No, I got this on the Burials tour. I'm a nerd. All right. Can you see it?
Yeah, that's so fucking sick.
I took this on tour. This is my pillow I have all the time. But yeah, Deep Slow Panic pillowcase. That's how nerdy I am.
Oh, dude, I don't know if you know the band Finch, but I've heard of them. I have Finch shoelaces.
That's what's up.
Another weird little piece of merch that I bought for some reason.
That's awesome.
All right, what are your top three?
Top three?
From Burials, from Burials, yeah.
From Burials? All right, for me it's going to be The Embrace, number one. Number two is going to be The Face Beneath the Waves. And number three is going to be The Conductor.
Ah, that's good. I didn't expect The Conductor to be on there. That's good.
Oh, yeah.
The Face Beneath the Waves reminds me of, I think that's the early makings of, like, The Missing Man, too. Like, I don't know why, but when I think of those songs, or what's that fucking song at the end of, it's on Bodies. It's the last song on Bodies, I think.
Bodies would be Tied to a Tree.
Tied to a Tree. That's the song.
Yes.
Yeah. I gotta ask, too. I mean, like, I know we kind of already wrapped up a little bit on that, but, like, The Face Beneath the Waves being your second favorite on the album, I have to ask, how did that one make its way into your favorites list?
Again, very personal. I mean, like we talked about, the person I was with for a very long time, no longer with.
That's
person I
tough.
share.
That's tough,
Yeah.
and it's hard to sum that up too.
Yep, it is very tough, and that's why that song would be one that I gravitate towards. Just the words, just the delivery, the haunting feel. You can feel the heartbreak in those lyrics.
Yeah.
And that's why I hold on to that.
So do you ever watch the show How I Met Your Mother?
I've seen parts of it. I don't watch TV much.
Okay, so there is this thing in the show called the Dobler-Dahmer theory. And so what it means is basically an act can be found charming if the recipient finds it charming. So there's a funny thing that they do with like the way that he asked out his wife the first time, and they show it like in the context of like, oh, she's into it, and it's funny, it's silly. He plays like a song on a ukulele, and then they do it the second time around, and it's like creepy and haunting, and he sings the same song, but I thought about that. There's a Dobler-Dahmer theory with I will be with you again. So he says that in the song The Face Beneath the Waves, where he says, I will be with you again, or I am part of you. And in another context, that's cute. But when you actually listen to the song, in the context of the song, I am part of you and I will be with you again is actually goddamn haunting.
It is, dude. Again, the way he's delivering it, it's not so much I will physically be with you, but you will remember me.
Yes.
You know, I will leave my wounds on you is kind of like how I take it.
And I am part of you.
Yep.
And so I think about that too, like, and like not to get too much into like, because I don't know if anybody ever listens to this from Sholo, because there's like specific places that like Sholo's too small for me to talk about it, but like whenever like girlfriends and I have broken up in the past, like there's spots that I avoid in town and stuff, and I've always thought about that if it sticks with them in like the same way that it does, like when I drive, like, a good example is like the movie theater, like driving past the movie theater. There's only 2 in Sholo, and I'm like, I wonder, selfishly, if you think of me when you go to these places, and then also in a more uglier way, I'm like, you know what? I fucking hope you do. I hope it's ruined for you too.
I hope you suffer.
I do. I hope you suffer.
Homie, you and I are exactly the same in that sense. It's hard sometimes. It's hard to get past those things and those reminders, you know?
Having stuff that can sum up the way that you're feeling and put it to words and then add it to music and make it more, it's therapeutic. Yeah. And I mean, like, my last question for you is, and I know that this is kind of like, it's breaking format a little bit, but when people listen to Vacant Skies, and so like with you saying the way that you approach your writing with this, what is it that you hope that people take away from Vacant Skies when they look at something that you've come up with, and when they listen to it, or when they even experience it in like a physical or like a presentation format, like a live show? What is it that you hope that your audience takes away from Vacant Skies?
For me, I would just hope that they would be able to take away, you know, the idea and know that there's honesty, and I'm coming from an honest place also. I want to, you know, take myself away from being the performer and just be the fan of the music and know what it's like to be a fan of music that I can relate to. And so I'd want to be able to give that to somebody else. That's the greatest gift I've ever received in my entire life. And so I would love to have the opportunity to be able to do that for somebody else. I've always said if we make the difference of one person in the crowd, you know, in any show that we play, then it's a successful show. Whether there's 500 people, whether there's 2, I don't care. As long as one person was able to take away something, and if it was anything positive and anything that made them feel like they weren't alone in this world, I have been a success the entire time. So that's all I want to do is just give back. I want to give whatever has helped me. I want to give that to them.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's better than I would have ever put it. Last thing that we do, every single guest, I ask, what is your top 3 and why should we give a shit about them? So this could mean, it could be books, it could be music, it could be TV shows, it could be, you know, whatever you're into right now. What is it and why should we give a shit about it?
All right. So keep on the Davey train. Let's say Dream Car just dropped a new EP.
Yes, I did.
It's called the Dream EP. For those who haven't heard Dream Car, definitely check them out if you're a fan of No Doubt or AFI or anything funky like that. It's No Doubt members with Davey singing pretty much. And the first track, We Rats, once they dropped that, dude, I was in it, and I just kept playing it over and over and over again. Again, just the delivery and how it's sung, and just you can tell where it's coming from, and it's awesome.
Right. The Dream Car album, that when it came out, that was like, dude, I did not listen to anything other than that when it came out.
Same.
Yeah. So that's rad. All right, number 2.
Number 2, I guess, I haven't read much in a while. I used to read a lot. So I'm not going to know anything on books. I don't watch TV. I'm so busy all the time, I don't have time to sit down and watch television.
Right.
So a lot of my time that I do, have that's free, I go work out. I like to run. I've been doing strength training for the past several months now. Really, that helps me. I'm noticing a difference in my mental health, and then I also gain physical, strength from it, which then also feeds into confidence and makes you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, what's funny is when you went up on stage the first night that we played, because you like to cut the sleeves off your shirts, Josh was like, yo, Larry's kind of jacked now. I was like, now that you mentioned it, yeah, he is. Yeah, you see, it's coming through, man. I can see it.
I appreciated that. That's the first thing he said when I got off stage. Are you working out?
Yeah.
Why? Is that good thing or bad thing?
No, it was good. I mean, yeah, you look like a brick shit house now, dude.
Appreciate it.
All right, take us home. What is number 3 on Larry's top 3?
Top 3 right now is the new Vacant Skies album we're working on. We have about 10 songs that we've done. Right before this interview, I was working on demoing or redoing a demo of one of the slower songs on the album. We're shooting to hope to have maybe 11, 12 songs on the album, so we're getting close. Eric's producing this one all on his own. I'm helping him co-produce where I can. He's teaching me a lot also by watching him do what he does. So that's where my biggest focus is right now.
I'm excited to hear that. There for a lot of people that haven't, if you haven't gotten a chance to go see Vacant Skies live, you should. Whether or not you've heard them like on Spotify or whatever, go watch a Vacant Skies show, and I think that's where you really get to experience what the band actually is. You guys are playing a new song live right now that I won't say the title to, but you're playing this new song live. Me and like Braden and Joe, every time we watched you guys play it on the tour, we were like, damn, this song fucks. Like this one's good.
Appreciate it.
Like, I mean, your guys' set is full of energy, but like, man, that song fucking rips.
Dude, we could say it's that song's called Black Flash.
It's dope.
It's okay to say. That song was written by Jason. It's the first song he brought to the table when we changed all the songs that he's brought to the table. Dude, you're going to see a whole new side of what we're doing. And I think these new songs are going to capture what we do live in the best way possible that nothing else has been able to before. I'm really excited. On my point of view, I'm a little embarrassed because the lyric content, again, it's very personal. It's very angry. I'm getting out a lot of demons on this one that I need to get out, and you'll be able to notice that and see that. But I'm so excited for these songs and what they are and to share them with everyone.
Fuck yeah. All right, dude. Well, this was season 1, episode 6. And so thank you for spending another Wednesday with me. Follow this podcast at Visceral Musings Pod on Instagram. But also, if you're an old woman or an old man and you're listening to this and you still use Facebook, go ahead and follow us on Facebook. Get involved in the entire metaverse, the whole matrix. Follow Vacant Skies at Vacant Skies. I believe it's _AZ on Instagram. Follow Larry. What is your Instagram handle?
L Reynolds 337.
Hell yeah. Follow him on Instagram. Let us know what you thought about this episode in the comments section, and we will see you next time. Larry, thank you so much for being on this with me. I appreciate you, dude. Like I said, you're one of the realest dudes in the scene, and I really do appreciate that you took the time to sit and talk about this with me.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your kind words. It means a lot.
Thank you, dude. Have a great night, and we will see you next time.
Definitely.